everyone, welcome to my version of a New Zealand grocery haul. This is what I have just gone out and got today. Now we are a one income working full-time family, so it's myself and then my 3 teenage children. To give you some perspective, it's already halfway through the week and I needed to do a bigger shop. So this is what I have ended up with. I am going to do some price comparisons once I have started to go through what I've got here. I think it might be quite interesting to hear from you guys, if you're in another country, as to what the comparisons are like. I'm going to give you some price comparisons into US dollars and British pounds from New Zealand dollars, just to see what some of these products are cost-wise, whether they're like for like or whether they're quite different. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you what the whole cost of my grocery haul was, and then convert it again. And just worth me noting here as well, some of the things that I don't buy are things like wine, fizzy drinks, packaged biscuits, lots of processed snacky foods, and a lot of this is just a cost decision, because I just can't afford to be buying those kind of things on my budget most of the time. So the kids and I, we bake a lot. If I bought a packet of biscuits, then no doubt they would be demolished in an evening, or probably less, with 3 hungry teenagers. So it's just a lot more cost effective for us to be baking rather than buying packaged biscuits. Snacks wise, I do buy a few bits and pieces to go in school lunch boxes, but again we try and make granola bars, things like that, and just for our health and well-being as well, we try not to have too much of that overly processed snacky foods in our pantry. So starting with my fresh produce here, I've got a bag of sweet potatoes, or kubara as we call them in New Zealand. Bag of carrots. Four kg bag of potatoes. What family doesn't need a large bag of potatoes for the week? Most of this fruit that I've got is seasonal fruit that is in at the moment, just to keep costs down. So I've got some pears here, onions, oranges. These are quite likely oranges from America, actually, to be honest. A bag of spinach leaves and a bag of coleslaw. I've got 2 different types of kiwi fruit here. So this is a green one and then the gold one. If you buy kiwi fruit in your own country, then it's highly likely that it has come from New Zealand, actually, because we export a lot of our kiwi fruit to other countries. Mushrooms, just sliced white mushrooms, which make it a lot easier and convenient to add to any meal that you want to. I've got 3 bags of frozen veggies here, so they're all some kind of a stir-fry mix, but they've got slightly different veggies in them. This is a really great cost-effective way of buying vegetables, particularly in this current climate of just food being so expensive. And it's not just in New Zealand, I know it's all over the world after the pandemic. If you're wanting a cost-effective way of being able to buy vegetables for your family and get more of a variety as well, then frozen is perfect. To buy a lot of fresh produce these days, it's expensive, and a lot of families just can't do all of the fresh stuff. So frozen is perfect, and it's still got all those nutrients in there as well. The meat situation here in New Zealand has got quite expensive as well. So these 3 packets here, I'll show you some close-ups as well. So this is 2 packets of chicken mince and 1 packet of sausages. And in New Zealand, in one of the supermarkets, they have a deal where you can get 3 packets of particular kinds of meat, and it may differ each week, but it's normally sausages, chicken mince, some kind of burger patty, some chicken kebabs, things like that. It's all, you know, pre-prepared, and you can get 3 of these for 20 New Zealand dollars. So the total weight of all of this in grams is 1,250 grams, which is the equivalent of 2.75 pounds of worth of meat. And so this cost $20, so the equivalent in US dollars was $12.15 US dollars, and if you're looking at pounds, this was £9.40. And then beef mince, so this is 13% fat, and it is 750 grams in weight, which in pounds is 1.65 pounds. This cost me $11.90 New Zealand dollars, and that was actually on special, so it's normally more expensive than that. So that's the equivalent of $7 US dollars and 25 cents, and pounds, £5.60. So yeah, would be interested to hear, you know, what the cost of mince in your country is. And then I managed to get some pork mince, which again is 750 grams, or the equivalent of 1.65 pounds. This is pork mince, and I got it on special for $9.20, which I guess you're looking at like about $6 American for that. I've got a juice here which I mix into a green healthy drink that I have each day, and that's the reason why I get that. Golden syrup. Two different kinds of olives. It's a lot more cost effective to buy them like this, you know, than in a more fresh state. Diced tomatoes. What family doesn't need diced tomatoes in their cupboard? So I just had a big stock up on those. These are obviously great if you're just generally needing to make a quick pasta sauce, or you know, you're making a lasagna, something like that, then you're definitely going to need diced tomatoes. I got some diced beetroot as well. Now, these frozen veggies and things like canned veggies are really, really great. I'm actually doing a gut reset at the moment. So if you wouldn't normally have, you know, these veggies in their fresh state, then just to get that variety, which is great for your gut health, then frozen is perfect for that. And you know, tinned vegetables can really, really help just to get a bit more variety into your diet as well. I've got some sandwich meat here, so it's just some salami. Hummus, this is a beetroot hummus. And then for snacking, or just generally to, you know, to have for lunches, then I just got some tin salmon and some tuna. Those are great just to have in the cupboard as a little snack. Now, these items here are probably the most processed out of all of the stuff that I have bought. So my teenagers like eating, you know, these types of bars. They're great for their lunch boxes as well. type of New Zealand cracker that we have. They're called shapes. They're very popular. Another type of bar. And these are just rice crackers, which the kids like to eat. Now, one of my teenagers likes to have these coffee packets each morning, so I know it's very highly processed, but you know, she does pretty well otherwise, so I keep those here for her. Salt. Now, we don't drink a lot of dairy in our household because I myself am dairy free, and the kids are just not so keen on it generally, so I have oat milk in my coffee. And then, actually I did buy a small carton of milk. This is what milk comes packaged in New Zealand, this type of container, rather than like a container like this that I think a lot of the overseas milk gets packaged into. So this is how it looks like in New Zealand. Oats, these are obviously great for breakfast and any kind of baking you can use those for. Sultanas, the kids have that in their oats in the morning. I got a couple of packets of snacking nuts. And then this is just some bread rolls. Now, flour, I was going to talk about the cost of this one. So this is a 5 kg packet of plain flour, which is the equivalent of 11 pounds of flour. If you are living in, for example, the US, then I believe you don't use kgs so much, but you use pound measurements. So this is the equivalent of 11 pounds of flour, and that was $8.50 New Zealand dollars, which is the equivalent of $5.15 American dollars. So $5.15 American dollars, and the equivalent to £4 if you're living in the UK. So that's just a little comparison there. And then sugar, gosh, I was quite shocked at the price of this when I went to get this today. So this is 1.5 kgs, which is the equivalent of 3.3 pounds if you're converting it. And this cost $3.69 New Zealand. But if you convert it to American dollars, then this was $2.25 American dollars, or £1.75 for 3.3 pounds of sugar. That's got really expensive over here. This is just wash powder for the dishwasher. I got a new packet of kitchen gloves. I'm actually going to use these outside in the garden because they've got a nice rubber, strong rubber seal on them, so I thought they would be quite handy. This is cat food for one of my cats. I've got dark chocolate drops. We do a lot of baking, so those are great for, you know, chocolate chip biscuits, banana bread, things like that. Coffee, ground coffee. I just have plunger coffee here, nothing too fancy. And then toothpaste and some sponges. This here is cat food for my other cat, and I end up spending quite a lot on this particular cat for food because he needs a special urinary care formula. He has had, you know, crystals in his urine in the past, which cats can get quite prone to, so he's on a special diet, and yeah, these are not cheap. Meat, cheese and eggs in New Zealand is very, very costly, and it's unusual and annoying because New Zealand is a primary industry for, you know, beef and all of our dairy products. You know, we export a huge amount over to other countries, where the cost of it is actually reasonably priced. But in New Zealand, even though we are the primary industry, then it works out to be so expensive. So beef is expensive, and then a block of cheese, and this is not a new thing. This has been happening for many years, but a 1 kg block of cheese, which is the equivalent of 2.2 pounds if you're watching from America, a block of cheese like that is going to cost you about 11 New Zealand dollars, which is the equivalent of US dollars $6.70, and then in pounds it is £5.15. And as a family, generally, we just don't consume a huge amount of it. But yeah, it's expensive in New Zealand. So wrapping up, in total, this whole grocery haul, which is not even really for the whole week, close to it, but this cost me 283 New Zealand dollars, which is the equivalent in US dollars of 172 US dollars, and in pounds 132 pounds 60 pence. So please let me know in the comments if this is similar to what you would be spending in your own country for a similar amount of food, and maybe what the price comparisons for things like flour and the meat. I'd love to hear from you, and until my next video, have a great week.